want to be free. We want to be free to do what we want to do. And we want to get loaded. And we want to have a good time. That's what we're going to do. Let's testify! Let's run outside the door now.
Hello friends, RebelKitty here. Welcome back to another Real Talk. I am here today LARPing in my room to talk to you about
your car's extended warranty.
No. Just kidding. It's Transgun Tuesday on the Transgun subreddit. So rather than post my usual just like picture of my gun, I figured I'd actually like make a video for once, like maybe like a decent one. Well, imagine. And so I thought it'd be a good chance to bring out one of my favorite oddball little guns and kind of discuss a important overall topic. So with that, let me introduce my little baby. This is Little Kiki. It's a Chiappa Little Badger. This is a 22 WMR version. I thought I'd discuss a little bit of this fancy little piece of machinery here and talk about the broader concept of Rimfire Cartridges. Like what the heck they are, why you would use them, what makes them any kind of special, why people are always insisting you get a 22, because I'm sure that gets annoying to some people, but it's for a reason, I promise. So, what we have here is Chiappa of Italy's Little Badger. It is a survival rifle, which explains its rather unique design and kind of what its purpose is for. But starting here from butt to muzzle, we got it. Its factory has a sort of wire stock. You might not be able to tell, but yeah, it's just a base wire stock, and I have wrapped it myself with paracord, and then attached a little Hornety rifle pouch actually to it, which gives it a little cheek weld here. Gives me extra space to hold the cartridges. And then it even has a pocket here, which I have a little cleaning kit for it. And then I can put even more cartridges. Because out of the factory, the stock here has like a 10 round sort of like space you can fit cartridges into, but it leaves them kind of like in the air. You can only hold 10, and then it's like it can get knocked out and caught on stuff. So I thought this little zip pouch with these kind of pockets was like a little more ideal. But moving up here, you'll see it's pretty base. But right here is a like small weaver mount. Might be able to hard to tell. It's it's like a proprietary, like half of a Picatinny or something. They make special hand, like, grips that you can install right there. And there's definitely methods of installing grips. My only problem with that is, obviously, if you're trying to fold the rifle, and it has a grip on it, it's not going to work super great. So, but there are like fancy grips that even kind of like fold over and are, you know, like people have overcome this, but I don't bother. You'll see then kind of the meat and potatoes here of it. It is a brake fed single shot rifle, which means I basically pop, it doesn't have an internal magazine of any kind. I have to pop it open with this little lever. And then once it's open, I can manually insert my cartridge, close it, and then it's still not active for fire. I have to, as you can tell, chamber is clear here. But yeah, if I hold the hammer back, pull it, it's kind of like a so brake fed single action. Pretty simplistic design, so it'd be pretty hard to break. Those kind of, you know, sort of makes the design a little more rugged. You'll see kind of as we move up front here, this is a M1 style sort of adjustable sight. Like any Mini 14 users, Garan or like M14 users might be kind of familiar with this. It adjusts. The only issue I kind of have with the Chiappa Little Badger specifically is it's like the aperture's like tiny. It's microscopic. So in like low light especially, like you'll really notice like it's pretty hard to pick a target out through it. It doesn't do so well. It doesn't let a lot in. So I am not a huge fan, which is why you'll see where I upgraded it to, I put this little Bushnell red dot on it. A little something extra. Moving forward, yeah, you'll see that was attached to that's sort of the factory handguard that it comes with, actually. All four sides are a pick rail, which allows you to obviously add all kinds of accessories. I added a little swivel here for a sling, and then obviously wrapped it around the stock here. But yeah, I will say the one thing, it's not exactly the most ergonomic. It's not exactly the most stylish handguard by any stretch.
Not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
People make cool, you know, little accessories for that. But I will say it's very functional, and you can add like lights to it if you're hunting coyotes at night or something. Moving up, we got a carbon steel barrel. It's like, which isn't really, there's nothing really right home about super special with this. Although the muzzle end does have threads. So if I take off this little thread protector, it does have threads, so you could fix a suppressor to it. And I will say with a suppressor on one of these, it's super quiet. Almost like, especially if you're using a 17 or 22s, pretty much dead quiet. And really the only mechanical part that's moving and hitting is this hammer. So it makes it extra silent. Quite snazzy. So I love this little gun. It's super kind of quirky.
The best kind of girl is a quirky girl.
And just a little different. And I'm like out and about a lot in some pretty rugged territory, and so it's always been helpful to have kind of a 22 around for varmints or like coyotes and stuff. We used to, I grew up on a ranch, so if coyotes would come around and harass the animals, you'd have to get serious with the 22. My specific version here is a, let's see if we can get a 22 WMR. So for a 22 cartridge, if any of you are familiar with your 22 LRs, this is a lot longer. This is like 3 times longer, twice as long as a 22 LR. Still super cheap. So the Little Badger comes in 22 WMR Winchester Magnum, which is what I have, 22 LR, and 17 HMR. As you can probably guess in your head, WMR has the most powder, is hitting the hardest. LR's in between, the most common. And 17, this is like almost like BB's and air rifle type range. So that kind of leads me into the next part of this video that I wanted to talk about, the actual productive bits that I'm sure would be helpful to know. But what the hell are centerfire cartridges? And like, what is a survival rifle? Why would something be called the survival rifle? What differentiates that? And like, why would I need a centerfire cartridge for that? Why does everyone always recommend 22s for new folks? Even and folks who've shot guns forever, it's everyone's gonna recommend to you 22. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons for this. But let's start at what the hell a centerfire cartridge is, really. Or a rim...
Is this Groundhog Day 2?
Rimfire. I don't know if I've been saying it wrong the whole fucking time. Jesus Christ. But yeah, anyway, so this is a, rimfire cartridge. What differentiates a rimfire cartridge of a 22 with a centerfire cartridge of, let's use a 223? Well, obviously they're different sizes, but that's not the difference. If you look on the back end here, if you like to focus, but you'll see the centerfire cartridge on top has what is known as the primer, sort of in that center circle, and the rimfire cartridge does not. Instead, the rimfire cartridge has an extended rim that goes out beyond the case. Well, what the heck? What is that all about? Well, the primer is the element in a cartridge that, when struck by the firing pin, will ignite the gunpowder and eject your projectile. So the primer is sort of that first spark, that first strike that initiates the rest of the cartridge process. So why are rimfires different? Why would you do what makes this different? So in a centerfire, you have a firing pin, which probably many of you can imagine is like a pointed pin. And forgive the visual, but essentially, as the firing pin strikes that center point, it would ignite the primer, ignite the gunpowder, and so on. The rim, however, rimfire cartridge, the primer is located on the outer edge of the case, in that rim. So in order to ignite the primer, a special shaped firing pin has to hit it in such a way that it crushes that rim and ignites the primer, which then gunpowder and the rest of the process. But that means, because in order to ignite the primer of a rimfire cartridge, you have to physically crush the rim. It means you can only make the casings so thick, and they can only be so big, which limits the size of the cartridges thus that you can really have. It doesn't necessarily reduce their, ballistics, per se on a pound for pound basis, but it's just a different way to ignite the bullet, and obviously limits the design. And because of the way you're destroying the case, sort of, when you fire one, you are unable to reload rimfire cartridges. So what the heck then is a survival rifle, and why are 22s and rimfires sort of significant to that? Well, if we go all the way back to World War II, I believe it's the M6 Aircrew Survival Rifle, was first developed to give pilots who were downed in either remote or hostile territory a means of surviving. So that, typically that actually meant a lot more than just the ability to be a combat weapon and shoot and kill an enemy. That actually meant gathering food, and probably most ideally small game. There's a lot of reasons for this. So, like, small game, for starters, is more prevalent than larger game. Especially if it's like winter or cold. There are certainly more small creatures than there are larger ones. It leaves a much less identifiable trail. Instead of leaving, you're only one person, presumably, or maybe a couple, and a deer's a lot of meat, yes, but are you going to be able to carry all that with you the whole time? Especially if, in an air crew survival kind of situation, like, you can't really just haul deer around with you, and if you leave a bunch of deer carcasses, you're leaving a trail. So the principle kind of then of a survival rifle was less combat and taking out large game. It was to hunt small game and to basically to be very rugged and light, easy to stash and stow away and carry for long distances. And so these are quite appealing to me, especially growing up in pretty remote areas, often with other people, and where certainly a lot of small predators are out in the wild. A small rimfire rifle was quite handy to be able to either ward them off, or in the case where we had to ultimately remove them, do that. So all in all, I think this pretty well summarizes why 22s are so frequently recommended to new and old gun users, because honestly the vast range of utility that you have with rimfire cartridges is pretty vast, and the cost ultimately is super low. The variations that are allowed in the shape and design of those weapons is pretty significant. If you look up 22s right now, you can find all kinds of insane looking 22s, but it's because it's a very versatile cartridge. So like there are no shortage of good reasons. But I think one thing that gets overlooked a lot too is, even if down the road, even if you have your main rifle that you drill with, your AR, your AK or whatever, if you're bringing other people with you and you're trying to get other people sort of into shooting and gun sports, having a 22 is a super awesome, cheap choice to let them in on it. You can hand them something that they can learn on. And I think the Little Badger right here is a great, safe option for that, because it's only single fire. You know exactly what is going to happen. It kind of very visually gives them an example of how a firing pin and firing works. So I think all things to consider. It's not just you. Hopefully, ultimately, if you want to, especially improve your skills, it's going to involve bringing some people in with you. So, I highly recommend Rimfire Cartridges. I think it is a wonderful thing. And take your friends out. Take other cuties out. Go have fun. Go touch some grass. Alrighty. So, I'll hopefully get more regular with doing these. I wasn't sure if anyone even found the first one useful. It was kind of just an experiment, but I honestly kind of enjoy doing this. And I like the opportunity to get out there and, meet some of you folks. So, heck yeah. Alrighty. With that, as always, much love. This is RebelKitty. Over and out.